Good morning, everyone. We'll jump back over here, do the check thing like we do. Make sure everything is working. Yeah, which we've been having pretty good success with this, so I think we'll be okay. Oh, look, right there we go. We're in business. So let's get to work. Let me get this back up where I was. Perfect. There we go. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tom Davis, Thomas E. Davis, as you'll see me on the ballot, and this is the Ground Truth from TN4, where we discuss campaign, we talk about issues, our congressional representative that is currently sitting there, and items going on in the district, and then how the federal government affects this. And also, I do talk, I think we have locally, how you can handle some of these things. As I've done this and I've seen other candidates talk and questions asked, a lot of times you will get questions. I don't want to say a lot necessarily, but there are times you will get questions that are handled by a different branch of government, or even a different like level of government. It's a local issue and they're asking it federally, or it's a local issue, or vice versa. It's a federal issue and they're asking, they'll ask those local candidates about it. So, and part of this, I think, is an education problem. And some of it is, and that's what it is. And I think has started early on. And I mean, to be fair, most of us are just trying to live our lives. And so we don't get involved in this. However, with this type of government, a republic founded on Christian values, it is incumbent upon us to have a pretty thorough understanding, at least, of what at what level the some items are handled and what their functions are. And this is part of what's been used against us, I think, to frame things and to destroy our liberties. So there is that. Now, we do have some stuff that went on this week. Early voting has started. I think, yeah, last week we had our live stream was on day one of early voting. I haven't looked at it the last couple days, I guess, but as we started looking at the numbers, interestingly enough, it looks like we're going to have a higher voter turnout, which we'll see how it works out. I am grassroots campaign, so I'm not running all these polls. I'm not taking all kinds of data. I have some very non scientific, anecdotal information, I guess. I've been asking some folks as they leave the polls, and also talk to them going in. And by those accounts, it's looking pretty good. So, and just interesting to me. One of the things I've seen with this campaign and just politics in general is these, oh my gosh, the campaign signs around all the polling centers. And that's really the question that I ask. Try not to be, too intrusive for folks, but a lot of folks, I guess one guy was like, yeah, I'm way too busy. Like, all right, bet, thanks, have a great day. But most people will talk, at least on the on the way out. And but my question has been, did any of these signs influence your vote? And with one exception, the answer has been no. And that one exception was down in Dunlap, and we drove around with the truck, and we were sitting outside the polling location in it. And as she walked in, she looked back, saw the truck, and then did like a double take. And then when she came out, I asked her about it, and she said yes, that particular sign, because I was there with it. So, but after that, everybody's like, yeah, no. Most folks were like, they had already done their research coming in. So I'm like, man, this has got to be great for the sign companies. I know what I've put into the signs, and I can only imagine what some of these, which we'll talk about these campaigns a little bit, but our gubernatorial races, what they put into it, especially. Oh my gosh, it looks like Marsha Blackburn is trying to, I don't know, wallpaper the dang state with these stinking signs. So, notification on my other one. All right, hopefully that's everything. Um, so yeah, but so that's been kind of interesting to me. And then I have most of the folks I've talked to have said they voted for me. Folks I'm meeting out there that have already early voted. I've had a few, and I know they're out there that have voted for our incumbent. And then afterwards, like, oh man, I wish I'd have known about you ahead of time. I'm like, all right, well, tell your friends. It's like, well, I'll make mistakes, right? If God forgives us, I don't know why I can't also. So, but and that's some of the struggles is getting to folks, and even ones that and that's been like I said they have said like, oh, I've done my research on the candidates coming in, so they knew who they were voting for, but then asked the follow up question. So, and this was when they'd voted for our incumbent, and I was like, okay, well, why'd you vote for him? It's like, oh, well, he's an incumbent, and no idea what some of the issues with this candidate are, and really this employee, if we put it into those terms. So just kind of, and I will admit, if you're not into it, like running a campaign and doing it's hard to keep up with, and it's taxing. You're trying to live your life and do the right things, but man, you got to put at least some effort into figuring out those candidates and what the heck they're voting for or not voting for, or whether they're even showing the heck up. So with that, what did we do this week? We were pretty busy. Like I said, we were going to the polls, doing some things, getting around. And I will address. So this is obviously I've been doing these on Fridays. Today we're doing Thursday because tomorrow I am going to Nevada for the VFW National Convention. Represent my post. This has been a thing that's been in the works for a little while. I will say there's still some events going on. Maybe we should have done it different, but I didn't. So we're just going to run with it. We'll keep being on the socials. I'll be back next Thursday, I think is what we mentioned last week. So next week we will be on for Friday. And that is, so next Friday we'll be back to the regular bat time, regular bat channel for it. But like I said, this week I had my time, and I would have done it on the road like I did for the state convention, but I'm flying out pretty early tomorrow morning, so that's why we're here today. For anybody that's wondering or sees this at a different time, so there we are with that. Hey, if we do have some viewers, pop on, say hey, and I leave the comments on, or you can't comment afterwards. Or can you? But anyway, I'll leave it on so everybody can read the comments, or it should be on. If not, my bad. I didn't click the button. So there we go. But that's why we're on today. And what I'm doing, like I said, I'll be over there. We'll still be on. I'll do videos from there. The convention is actually pretty interesting to me. A lot of information for the organization gets put out. So that's where we're going to be on that. And since we're talking about the VFW and the convention and veteran issues, we will go into, we'll hit this one, and then I think we'll mix it up. I'll go to the comments. My videos have been doing really well, actually. I picked up a fair amount of new followers, but the haters are back. And then also the positive folks. I got people out there, coming on saying, hey, vote for me. And if you're doing that, awesome. Absolutely amazing, the whole process of folks that come on and see in this country that we need to change. We've got to do things different. We have some stuff going on. So real quick, we'll talk about the Taking Care of America's Veterans Act. And this is one of the things we have to be careful of, is how they'll name these bills. It sounds awesome, right? Because who doesn't want to take care of America's veterans? Everybody, this is a bipartisan issue. One of the issues with these acts and how they name them is, one, they give it a cool name, but it's no good. I point you to the Patriot Act. Sounds good. Horrible piece of legislation. Anyway, back to this particular one, and we don't have final resolution on it, so we need to stay engaged and see where this goes. Because what they've done now is they've actually pulled it, and it was like almost, what do we got? The number, different numbers I saw, but like 22 of the service organizations were like, nope, don't do it. And what they did, there was like a motion to recommit, which that just means it kind of goes back to committee. They can work on it. They can fix it. It looks like, and our congressman, our rep voted no on that, which you walk the dog, he'd have been fine on passing this. At least that's how I've seen it, because again, it was bipartisan, had bipartisan support. They're all like, yay, we're going to take care of America's veterans. So I think if it wouldn't have been for a lot of outcry, but anyway, it failed that, and then they pulled it. So this is still, this bill is still in play up there. And what it was looking to do is combine, it was looking to bundle up a whole bunch of different veterans issues to include the Major Richard Starr Act. And I'm not going to go into the big explanation, but the bottom line is that Major Richard Starr Act should be on its own, funded on its own, whatever. But they were trying to bundle all this stuff into it. And then the funding mechanism, they were going to then change how some items currently being compensated, tinnitus and sleep apnea in particular, and they were going to change the classifications and the compensation, and based off of those savings, then fund the Major Richard Starr Act. So the phrase, I believe, is rob Peter to pay Paul. So they were going to take from future generations of veterans to pay a current veterans with the Major Richard Starr Act. Very interesting. If you pay attention to this stuff, really what I've seen, the two groups in particular of individuals or the groups of people that are elected representatives have almost no problem cutting from are those that have skin in the game. The first set is the veterans, like we're talking about now. Like they have a whole lot of other things on this, but our show, so we won't go too far down it. But and they do this all the time. They'll come out running around, they'll name it Taking Care of America's Veterans Act. They'll all run around like, oh, thank you for your service. Oh, we support veterans. Until it comes time to actually support the veterans. And it's a long history. It actually goes back to the founding, where veterans have struggled to get the government to honor the contract that they have made with the veterans. Absolutely ridiculous. This one's a no-brainer. I mean, we can send, gazillions of dollars to all these places for ridiculous nonsense. But when it comes to veterans, you want to change stuff up and cut, compensation on futures. No, absolutely trash. But this is what they do. The other group that they really have no problem, and this is another group with skin in the game, and most of you out there, really, we've got no choice in it. And that is Social Security. And I will say from the outset, I've been saying this, that's an unconstitutional program, and we need to get rid of it. And listen to me when I say this, we're not just going to pull it away from people, but there has to be an exit strategy for this. I have some ideas on how this should work, but the point of this is it will go away. It absolutely, it's imploding already. And this is what, already we're talking about is, I think we're at the 9-year mark, because it was last year that they were saying, hey, in 10 years, you can expect a 30% cut. So I'm in the group that is going to get cut. And I've had no choice in this my entire life. And even currently, they're taking the Social Security. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. Same thing. And this is stuff they leverage against us. You should be in control of your own retirement. Are there some things we could do to help citizens? Yes, but it should be out of an abundance. If you're not tracking right now, this nation is spending about $1.8 trillion annually in the deficit. Can you imagine if how long year over year can you as a house or you as a business spend in the deficit? It eventually it crashes, and you gotta make hard choices, and we need to make these hard choices now. So, we're already being told, especially Social Security, it's insolvent, and we're gonna have to fix it. And the fix should not be like, well, we wake up one morning and it's gone, and everyone's like, hey, what happened? We all know what's happening, and we need to have some some folks with backbone that will talk about it. Like I said, we can those folks that are on it now and have got into the situation, we've got to continue to take care of them. But it's got to be funded differently, and we've got to get the government out of the retirement business, not what it was designed for, but that's what it's become. And so we've got to have these discussions. Same thing for taking care of our veterans. Like, you guys got to be kidding me. Knock this crap off. Let's just, and there, again, some other things we can do. But we got to have guys that actually will fight for it. And this congressional rep we have right now, he's more than willing right now just to line up and do what he's told. And that's not leadership. That's just a guy that's, yeah. I don't know what he's doing. Well, I do, but so there is that. And that's the veterans, that's the act, and that's, a little more, I think, than we were planning on. But there we go. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this week. What we did on the calendar last night or yesterday was pretty good. We ended up in Murfreesboro at the GOP headquarters there. Gubernatorial candidate Monty Fritz was there. And I'm telling you right now, that's the dude I'm voting for. I enjoy and went last night to hear him, and I learn more. And then the more I hear him talk, some of this stuff, and for me too, you kind of hear the same stuff over and over again. But there was some new stuff last night, and just really solidifies it. And actually, I'm probably going to vote today. But so I went there for that, met a lot of folks, and I'm strap hanging on some of this. I've been to John Rowe's events and have done the same thing. Listened to him, and him on his own, him and Chelsea, and John seems to be a nice guy. I thank him for actually taking up the fight to keep the VA clinic in McMinnville open. Credit where it's due. It was him that got our congressional rep Scott Desjardins off his hands to actually engage to keep it open. So I thanked him for that personally, and mean it. I appreciate that, because that's 1,870 veterans, myself included, in that then would have been displaced and pushed out to other clinics. Horrible plan. Those clinics were not ready to handle the influx of veterans. So, so I've gone to his events, walk around, meet people. I ain't gonna lie, they got more name recognition. People are more interested in that in a lot of cases. So you do what you got to do as a grassroots campaign, and that's what I do. But so I went to that, and then previous to that, we were in Coffee County, had been asked to pray for the military at what is now our month of prayer and fasting, and it was Monty Fritz that put that together as a House rep here in the Tennessee General Assembly. And then he showed up. Had no idea Monty was going to be there, but he spoke a little bit. He read the bill, and so I was glad to see him there. And then yesterday, yeah. What else did we do? That was indeed. Oh, I'm looking ahead. I'm thinking it's Friday, but anyway. So yeah, that one, and then that prayer event. So that was the big deal yesterday. We also at FEC filing. The 12-day preliminary thing. Anyway, did that. Tuesday, we were on with Warren First 931. We being, but I was on, and then also the other two incumbent challengers were on that podcast. So go over to Warren First 931. You can see that podcast. I'm not sure. We went down to Winchester, but it was I think it's WYZX radio. Hosted this thing, so I don't know if they broadcast it live. They did say Facebook Live. They did it on Facebook Live. And I was down in Winchester, went around down there, and then I've also been visiting the polling centers. So Winchester, we stopped and because I appreciate those folks that sit out there. I'm doing it myself. Like I said, I'm asking people coming out. Just that these signs are the bane of my existence, and it's just. Yeah. Anyway, so talking to folks down there, and then Monday, what do we do? Monday I went to the polls again. I was in Murfreesboro that day, and then I also had my own appointment up in Murfreesboro, and then we went to Lebanon. Hopefully, I'm getting it. I know we say that a little differently here, just like some other places we have. if you're from there, you say it differently. But went up there, and that was the Monty Fritz rally, because that was supposed to be the debate. But Marsha was not going to debate, and she will not. She's just absolutely ridiculous. But she is talking to Tennesseans every day and crushing up fortune cookies, apparently. But and then turn around, and John Rose is like, well, if she's not going to be there, I'm not going to be there. So it's just absolutely ridiculous. And he was on that day with, I think he was on with Matt Murphy pretty close to that time. Yeah. But he basically, the logic of it made no sense to me, but basically saying he's not going to debate. So because he doesn't want to let her off the hook to not be there. I don't know. To me, that made no sense. Him and Monty go do the thing. To me, that shows they're both willing to do it. What this tells me about John Rose is he truly isn't, doesn't want to debate. And he's allowing himself off the hook because now he's like, well, Marsha's not going to show up, then why am I going to be there? Absolutely ridiculous. He had time to get on the radio and talk to Murphy and those guys, but I'm just like, you got to be kidding me right now. So anyway, Monty and his team put on that event up there, and when it was great. There was I don't know what the count was, but they said they had 500 chairs put out, and I don't know. My estimate would probably be around 3, maybe we pushed 400, but it was pretty big. And again, I could be completely wrong. I didn't walk around count everybody, but judging kind of by how full that audience was, and like I said, what I was told is they put out 500 chairs. I think we were pretty close to 4. So and people from all over Tennessee made the drive. And some of these folks I knew. It was kind of cool to show up and see folks that I knew. And this was before the redistricting. Folks from Lawrence County made the drive up there. Just all over. It was amazing. I think that I think we'll have Monty Fritz as a governor, and I'm pretty excited about that because I'm not excited about these other two. And Marsha Blackburn in particular, my hang up is that she just got reelected to the Senate seat, and then she's going to turn around and say, I'm going to run for governor. To me, is very disingenuous and speaks of character. And so anyway, and speaking of Marsha, we'll go ahead and do this since, this just, oh my gosh, the amount of money that gets spent on politics. And if you can see this one, this isn't even the one I'm going to, oh no, this is the one. So we've received 2 of these, and I don't know, I can see it here, but on the background, like, what are we trying to do here with this guy? It's just very, very weird. It's kind of like they're doing in this one, and I don't know, maybe I'm seeing something. I don't know what their messaging is, but here with these guys, I mean, I'm going that they're gang members, but kind of the with this, and then you turn it over to this, looks like some kind of like some homoerotica type stuff is going on here. And then I haven't gone back and looked this up, but they're talking about blocked President Trump's border wall, opposed deporting illegal immigrants, and open the door for illegals. And they do cite where it's coming from. But again, I haven't gone back and ran this, but I believe the context of this was, and what I've been told from actually I talked to some John Rose folks down in Winchester at that candidate meet and greet down there on Tuesday. Tuesday. But this is stuff they do out of context. This was, he voted against a bill because it got changed up, and at the time President Trump had asked for 5 point whatever trillion, and it got like doing what they do, and it wound up being like 1.4 trillion or whatever billion, whatever he was asking for the border wall at the time. And so he voted no because it wasn't what they wanted, and there was other bad stuff. So again, but this is how we frame it. And this is when I got it, this is what you need to do. You need to look at who's paying for it. And this is paid for. It's the tiny print, but it was paid for and authorized by Marsha for governor. So, but yeah, we got that one with the weirdness on it. And I don't know, I'm sure AI probably generated, or maybe they had some folks. This one at least doesn't look as, they're trying to make them look tough, I guess. Like, hey, it's the gangbangers coming over, and then I guess it's the same picture on this side, but it's the same deal. It's like, oh, but she won't debate, right? She could have brought this up in the debate and talked about it like right there live. But and this is what we get when you vote for these scripted career politicians. John Rose isn't quite as tied into it, I think. And if we did the weird rank choice voting, that might, I'd be Monty, John, and then Marcia. In fact, I'd probably just not rank Marcia. So anyway, rank choice voting is a horrible idea. We don't do it. Good. I'm not advocating for it. It's a ridiculous idea. So anyway, that's a little bit about these mailers. And oh my gosh, these guys are hammering it this time. I've got none from Monty Fritz, and to me that's solid. He's out, he's out doing the work. And I've said, I've been pretty clear. That's you make up your own mind out there if you're watching this, but I have absolutely no qualms saying that Monty Fritz is who I'm voting for. So got his putting it, and I've got my own sign out in my yard, but then I put up Monty's, and typically I don't put up other signs. So, but we'll have out there. Hopefully we have a Monty Fritz governor, and that's been the prayer, and I think we're seeing it, and that's a lot of what I do see across this, and is talking to folks. People are tired. We are so tired of being fed a bunch of freaking BS about all the things. And for me, and what I'm running for, we look at our Congress and President Trump, what he's doing, and with an America First agenda. And what we're not getting is the follow-up on the hard questions. We are not getting the follow-up on birthright citizenship. He tried to go it alone and do an executive order, which it's not within the scope of the Constitution, not within the scope of the contract for him to be doing that. It is within the scope of the contract of the Constitution for the Congress to be doing it. But they do not really want to. It's the appearance of work. Call these guys, in the Army, we'd call them Spotlight Rangers. These are the guys that just pop up. And now we're in the election cycle, right? So like, oh my gosh, look at what I'm doing. I'm standing, I'm running the gavel at at this committee doing it. Like, knock it off, bro. Go get the things done. Oh, but we have this thin majority. I'm so sick of hearing this trash. Go do the job. Get it done. They can, again, within the scope of the Constitution, birthright citizenship, absolutely in there. Let's jump up on this Pause Act for the Chip Roy's got, and let's stop it. Let's absolutely stop the immigration for right now. Let's absolutely stop refugees coming into this country. Stop. Then from there, we go to the interior, which are the Homeland Security and all those guys, ICE. They're working at it. Get rid of them, all of them, every last single one of them that's here illegally. You go away. We even tried to pay them to leave. That was a thing. Which, all right, probably more cost effective to do it that way. Get them gone. And then those that are, and then we can start talking about those that are in the chute. Following the process, because there are, you have the rule, and then there's exceptions for us and our laws. That's fine, but work from there to sort it out. But all these doggone refugees we've pulled in, you got to go, man. The Haitians, all these Somalis that we've taken, any of them of anywhere they've come from as refugees. Time's up. You got to move on back to where you came from, some other country that's taken refugees. No. It's not on us as our federal government. It's not in the Constitution to take care of these refugees. Absolutely not. Now, as Christians, if we want to export, stuff to them to help out, yeah, absolutely. But it's not a function of our federal government to take care of these folks, and we need to stop it. Again, this is how we peel back this $1.8 trillion annual deficit. Stop sending money overseas. And that's everybody. That's everybody. And I'll touch on Israel a little bit. Same deal. In fact, with the death of Lindsey Graham, Benjamin Netanyahu, their prime minister, is saying he was telling Lindsey Graham, they don't need our money. Let's oblige them. Cut it off right now, immediately, if not sooner. So yeah, that's where we're at, and that's how you do it. Is you start looking at the unconstitutional programs and just stop. This can be said in with our farm bill. In the farm bill, we hear this like, oh my gosh, I support farmers from our rep, and they like, here we got it. Oh yay, it's a great thing. You got to take a look at what the bill is. The analysis I've done on it, it favors the large corporate farmers. How is that? That's not your job as a representative. Your job as a representative is not to prop up and support these ginormous farms. It just isn't. Your job is to defend the Constitution and our individual liberties. That's the top two priorities. And if you are restricting or impeding the ability of our local farmers, and some of this stuff is the ear tagging of the cattle, and that's through regulation of the USDA, and you want you want these smaller farms to have to do that. Same thing with the vaccine, whatever the medication, some of the stuff that they're that has changed. Now they have to go to a vet to have this stuff administered to these cattle, whereas previously the farmer or the rancher was doing this stuff themselves. No, you have missed the mark on this, and we need to fix it. We need to be looking out for these local farms. So that's some stuff we need to look at, these bills, and this is again a program that we could absolutely do away with right now. Is our food stamps, SNAP, whatever, we want to give it a name so we don't, where people's feelings are hurting that they're, SNAP sounds a lot cooler than food stamps, I guess. But unconstitutional program, it's not up to the federal government to feed you, your family, or anybody. And it's become a ridiculous boondoggle full of fraud, waste, and abuse. And I don't even know what the number is. I'd be curious to maybe look up, but how many of those dollars actually get down to people that are in need? And again, this is where we've broken it up, and we've taken we've sidelined our churches and our civic organizations that have helped out with this stuff in the past. And we look at the shutdown, nobody starved. The agencies that were supposed to be are more equipped to handle these things for us stepped up and did the thing while the federal government was, up there. Our representatives were sitting on their hands, taking a break for the 43 days. Is that what we wound up with? I think, and it's even dropped off. I even stopped tracking it. I think we actually finally did. We were in a partial shutdown for like most of this year, or a lot of it. It's like, what are we even doing up there? So, but we can cut. That's a program you can cut out. How do you want to fix the fraud, waste, and abuse? Is you quit doing unconstitutional stuff. Leave the money in the states. Leave the money in the states. Same thing with the daycare stuff. It's not a function of the federal government to provide daycare for your kids. And in some cases, the government is getting in the way of this when they and this is a lobby with your larger, conglomerates of daycares. Like, hey, you can only have, let's write some code or some law or, some ordinance where you can't have but one daycare in a certain radius, which is insane to do this because they want the monopoly on it. And the fact is, there's plenty of this for everybody. And if there's not, or if you run your business wrong, you shouldn't have the government propping you up. How about your gas stations? I mean, you go to how many places out there do you see one and sometimes two on every dang corner, and they're doing just fine. Get the federal government out of it. Get DC out of Tennessee, as I've been saying. And I actually stole that and twisted it up from Monty and made it my own. But he says, don't DC my Tennessee. you got to have someone fighting to get DC out of Tennessee too, and that someone is me. So, here on this, I'll ask for your vote. I appreciate I do appreciate that, and yeah, and together we'll get it done. But so that's like I said, some programs that we can spend or we can cut, and people are still going to eat, and I fine if and I am not a fan of these programs, but I'll talk about it, but not when we're spending $1.8 trillion in the deficit every year, and we're pushing $40 trillion in debt. And I do believe we could pay this down, pay it off. It may take several lifetimes at this point, but if you're spending 1.8 trillion at the deficit every year, it will kind of take care of itself. But who winds up paying for it? It's we the people with either a governmental collapse or if it looks something else. But then you do start, because they'll start cutting those programs. Veterans, sorry dudes, no can do, homie. We got this national debt to pay off, which right now, servicing just the interest on that is the top line item of our budget. But they'll cut that again. They'll cut your Medicaid. Those that need it the most, they're going to cut. Social Security, something that we've paid into every year, and we have for the Medicare, Medicaid as well, paid into that. But ridiculous. So we've got to start having these conversations, and if we don't, I don't know when it'll pop, but it will pop, and this government will collapse. Hard to say how long they can ride it out and shuffle things around and create wars so the economy is producing war stuff or whatever, which is kind of what we have going on right now. So there is that, and like I said, that's the spending problem, and they all, and it doesn't matter which party, it just depends on what we want to tax and spend on, and regardless of how you do it, it's going to happen. And I mean, we have local things we can look at in is it Virginia? What's her name? Spamberger. Talk about all this. I'm a moderate, and then turn around and who is she taxing? All your small businesses. Trying to tax gyms, I think, and this is what they're going to do. You're gonna tax those that produce, and what happens? They leave. Look at New York. You got businesses leaving. You got tax the rich, and then what they turn around and do. We've seen this in California. Charge an exit tax. Are you kidding me right now? And to be fair, I don't know exactly how that has worked. But I believe it's through their state taxes. I'm telling you right now, if I left that state, I just wouldn't pay it. You guys can pound sand, man. Yeah. So, like I said, we as Republicans, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna rebrand this stuff. I'm gonna call it a big beautiful bill, pass it in the middle of the night, and it's absolutely full of trash. There are some things in there that are good, have been good for us. Some of the tax cuts, the not tax and tips, but that's it. A lot of that is how those are structured. I understand that. I'm not mad at those folks that are, that are working off tips, because again, their wages are typically lower below the minimum wage, which is a bunch of nonsense. But so I'm not mad at them. When I file my taxes, I take all the exemptions and deductions I can. What I would prefer is a much simpler tax law, not tax code, that if we want to tax income, it should be less than 10%. If God doesn't require me more than 10%, why should the government be just raking me over the coals? But it should be less than 10% on earned income, W-2, 1099, that sort of thing. On investment income, it should be even lower than that. We should be encouraging folks to save and be able to in retirement. And then, we could restructure that like, hey, you hit this age, don't care. You're not paying taxes anymore. and you're on and make that, and again, but that's moving away from Social Security. You're on your own and start, teaching this stuff young. And again, it could be coupled with these, these child savings accounts or whatever the crap they're called. And then this is your vehicle, and they start, we start talking and teaching how money works at a very early age, and that you work for it. You're out there physically with your hands working for it. You're the idea guy, or they're different ways to make that money, and then save and invest. Be like, all right, this is what I'm going to need to live for in retirement. And this comes back, and this is, couple this with the government fixing the stuff that they broke. For example, how do we bring the manufacturing back is through tariffs. The government pushed, allowed these corporations to offshore a lot of the manufacturing. Let's reshore it. How do we do that? We do it with tariffs. And again, this is something that President Trump is doing. And he, went through the tyranny of our judicial system is what it's become through the Supreme Court. And again, it's not the function of the executive branch. It's his job to execute these tariffs. So, but President Trump, like, all right, let's step out into it. This is what leaders do. We'll push the envelope until they get checked. But what we should have seen was some actual leadership in the Congress and codify the stuff. Be like, all right, boom, here we go. This, because it's in the scope of the Constitution. One of the enumerated things is the tariffs. Do it. And then the Supreme Court has got put them on sidelines. Sit down and shut up. We have allowed the system, again, our courts, and this goes way back, but they've become bloated in what they do and what we think they should do. Like, well, the Supreme Court says. How many times have they got it wrong? How many times have they reversed decisions? Yeah. So knock it off, put it into law, and let's move on. And again, codify a lot of this stuff, and then we decouple from this world economy that we've got. And I'm not, these companies, absolutely, if you want to trade on the global economy and do the things, that's fine. But it's not up to the federal government to try and facilitate this stuff. What it is up to the government to do is facilitate within the nation and the health of our companies within our borders, and especially those small businesses, because even with that, it's our small businesses that really are the driver of the economy. So if we're punishing those that try and do that, we're wrong. So we should stop. So okay, I think that's yeah, we've talked about most of this stuff. And we'll talk a little bit. I've kind of switched this. I do have to make this comparison between what we're getting now, because this is a primary challenge to our Republican incumbent. But I'm looking to change the messaging a little bit. And why should you vote for me versus just against Scott Desjardins? And there's tons of reasons to vote against that dude. And I saw that, and that's, why I'm running is I can do better, and I will do better for the district. And this is, accessibility within the district. Town halls, I've already been doing these for the last 3 quarters. I've held a town hall. I will continue them quarterly moving forward as your representative. Our congressman hasn't held one since 2013, and he won't even show up for the veterans. The VA held a town hall about our clinic here in McMinnville. He said, no, thanks. I'm going to go to North Dakota and talk about missiles. And I understand Arnold Air Force Base and that stuff, and his role on the strategic, the subcommittee, strategic armed forces, blah, 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 whatever. But at the end of the day, that General White is who we went up there to see. If that general is any type of it has any ounce of leadership in him, it would have taken but a phone call from that, like, hey, got a situation going on in my district. I need to be there for the veterans. The general on the other end, yeah, bet, go do your thing. Let's reschedule this. Let's we can do it over the phone, whatever. But being in the district is not a priority. You'll see him for, and it's election cycle now. So we've seen him pop up a lot more on the, on the Facebook, like, hey, here I was. But, he's not interested, I don't think, in actually being in the district and engaging with people. So town halls quarterly, as long as I'm serving as your representative, you'll get that out of me. Leadership. This is something we absolutely are not getting. It kind of comes back to that accountability. Some votes, the big beautiful bill. Like I said, we could have done that without raising our debt ceiling. We've got to start doing that to stop that. He's going along. When he first started doing this, like, well, I don't usually vote for these. Same thing with the CRs. He's voting yes on those now. Nope. We've got to have some adults go up there and be able to stand up to the pressure. I have some experience doing that. Just as a leader in the Army, and as even after the Army, and some things I've done. So you've got to have that, and again, that accountability. He was okay, and they've redone this, but initially with the transparency of they're using our taxpayers to cover up sexual misconduct, and that is 100% wrong. And that initial, when it first kind of started ginning up, the first one that came out, he said, yeah, no, let's send that to committee to die. Which I'm not accusing him of any sexual misconduct, but he is certainly okay with covering it up for those that are committing it. No, I'd have been on the other side of that, and it's and excuses. And I read that it was only like a page or a page and a half, and there was the provision in there to redact it. But there's no reason this information shouldn't be publicly available. They will certainly use it when it is. Politically, when they can use it to their political ends, and it doesn't matter which party. That's how they do it. So okay, constitutional priorities. Let's get back to that, and that's what you're going to get out of me as a constitutional conservative. That's the lens. As a Christian, we look through a biblical lens, and then our Constitution. What's in the contract? Let's get back to that. So there we go, and now let's get to some fun stuff. I think I've gone through all I really don't want to on this. Y'all got to understand the more we get especially at the federal, get us back to doing constitutional stuff, the better off we're going to be. And it can be a hard pill to swallow, because we've got the federal government so ingrained down to us that it's hard to see past that. But we will be much better off if we get the federal government back to doing what it's supposed to do, because those things that are enumerated in the Constitution, they're good at those, and that's where we should be. I'm gonna real quick, just because this popped up, I'm gonna talk about flock cameras and get the flock out of here. This is a horrible idea, and it's handled more so right now at the local level. And if you haven't done so, start contacting your, in my particular case, I've already started contacting my local commissioners. A little bit rough this time. I'm talking to some of them as they're running, as non-incumbents, as incumbents, like, hey, where are you guys at on this? Start talking to your sheriffs. But if you're wanting these flock cameras out of here, which it's an absolute horrible idea, that's the road to social credit scores, to the next time we get a Wuhan or pandemic, like, hey, you were told to stay home and you didn't. Here's the evidence. Too many cases already of abuse, of even the cameras getting it wrong. So no, I'm a hard pass, and we'll be working to that end, and you should be too, because the next step is then they're going to do it, and I've said this before. Anytime they start talking about, or you hear it's for your safety, you need to be like, wait, what? And pause. And then data centers. We've got to figure this out with data centers. And I think the market can do it. And how you do it, again, at the local level, put in these moratoriums, and then figure out the ordinances, the codes, or whatever. Here in Tennessee, it's a little bit different with how, and the counties are a little bit different. But start figuring it out, how you're going to do it. So that's those two real quick. So now let's get to some comments, because there've been some haters going. So let's see if we can. Hopefully, I can pull this up. And this is to one of my videos. Ron Bumgardner, thank you for the comment. Bless your heart. Vote all Republicans out. That's okay. Nice. That was 38 minutes ago. I'll reply to that. And my man John Franco, another bullshit artist. Okay, thank you for the comment. And I think I've decided. I think I'm going to change here. The last, I'll take up the Southern. Typically, what I say to stuff like this is just thank you for the comment, and I do. I'm grateful for it because it helps the algorithm run. So, but I think I'll pick up the Southern reply of bless your heart. Hey, and I see we got a couple more jumping on here. If you would, drop a hey in the chat there. So that was those ones off of that post. I'm trying to run through. Hopefully, I can find some of these ones that are good. Oh, here we go. And this is a good one. Voted for you today, Tom Davis for Commerce. Thank you. And that's Tyler Simmons, who is running for a county commission seat here in Warren County. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And then thank you there. Yeah, here's one on this. Yeah, Franklin County and Taylor Brown, appreciate the comment. And like legit, this is a legit thank you. Franklin County keeps getting more and more liberal by the day. They hate Monty Fritz, and he's got a 94 on the Freedom Index score, so it makes no sense at all. Agreed. That, and you can look. This is through it's freedomindex.org. I was looking up this last night. Our representative here in the 4th has got a 77, which he's not dead. He's not last, but there's a couple there's a couple. One of which was Cohen has got he was like a 16 or some mess. But go take a look at that. I will do better. That I am telling you right now. Oh, this is okay. I know what this one was. There was we got a call. The campaign got a call that there was somebody spreading rumors in Franklin County that I'm okay and I'm on board with transgenders in the military, which I am not. Nothing could be farther from the truth. So that's what this video is. We're commenting on. And Charles replies, I can just about guess where it came from. I guess maybe you're making someone uncomfortable. Maybe the good old boy network around here that keeps kissing someone's ass are afraid that they're going to lose the object of their misplaced affection. Yeah. So I said I have an idea. I don't think it's coming out of the Congressman Desjardins, but there is another group running around that, and it's even a little subsection within that group. But yeah, and then Matt Anderson, and I kind of thought about this again with the Texan stuff. I think the stat out there is like 80% is miscommunication, but my man Matt Anderson here comments, what's the end game? How will you eliminate transgenders forever if that's the goal? So I think maybe the end game is to take votes away from me, if that's kind of the question. And I never said anywhere to eliminate transgenders forever. If I could, I would. That's a horrible thing that's been perpetrated on us as evil walking around us as a society. Or as these liberals have group after group taken advantage of for political gain. And now we've got to a point where we've created this, we've perpetrated this evil on our children, especially. But I would absolutely eliminate it in the military. And this has been a thing where our taxpayer dollars have been going for this, and something I've said time after time. I don't care what your belief system is. This has got no place in the military. It's not on we the people to pay for what is an elective procedure at the end of the day. We have absolutely no business as taxpayers paying for this. Oh, all right. I'll jump over here. And I appreciate you jumping in here. You talk about fiscal responsibility, but I see online that you filed bankruptcy more than a time. I guess that should be or two. If that's true, how does that make you fiscally responsible? I don't know where you're seeing that at, but I have never filed bankruptcy. I have always taken care of my debt. So I'd be curious if you put on there where you see that online, because that is 100% untrue. I do have an ex-wife, and she was an ex-wife at the time that filed bankruptcy. And I was in that she did not have to pay some stuff through the divorce, because of that. And I actually paid out some of that debt through that. But I myself have never filed bankruptcy. So, like I said, if you would, I would appreciate you posting that on there where that information is coming from. But that's the answer to that question. And thank you for tuning in and checking it out and asking that. Absolutely no problem answering the questions. Okay, so that was back to Matt Anderson there, and I'll keep an eye on here for if you're gonna. Lindsay May. I hope I got that right, and that's what your intent was on there. But thank you very much for that. And then Lindsay. I don't know if that's the same one or not. All right, looks similar, but Lindsay Wells Wiseman, and I maybe met her down there the other day, but and this is again back to the comment about the rumors going on down there. But she said, "This is news to me as a member of this is the Federated Republican Women." And I can't think of anyone that would make up such a thing. Again, I don't think it was from the party. I tagged the party in this just to let them know that this is going on and is absolutely false. So, and then the Patriot Punk tells me they did that to him too. So, this is again, go back and look at my stance. I've got all kinds of videos up about this stuff. So, and again, and people do this. It's politics, and that's what I said is welcome to politics. That's fine. So there we go. I think we covered that one. No, that was that. Let's see. And then, and this was just one of my ones about one of my, my ads I'm running on Facebook here that I did. Tim Arnold, I can't vote for you. Wish I could in District 9 now. So yeah, that's with the redistricting. That's the way it works. There we go. See what we got going on here. And this is, yep. So honoring the contract. This is one, why we vote for me. Roadside Ministry, Pastor Matt, good morning. Our dear friends, as many of you know, we are just 51 days away from our 4th annual God Bless America Crusade. This year is especially meaningful. I don't know that we'll go through this. I think he's just trying to, trying to talk about, wow, this is quite the post. Let me see if I can just get to the end. Yeah, all right. He's trying to raise money. Looks like. So you can go on there and they're America Roadside Ministry, 501c. Look into this if you're so inclined. We'll not go into that. Got Joshua Evans, got my vote today. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Ben Adler, thank you very much. We need to start all over. Sounds like you would be a great candidate. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'd appreciate that vote if you're in the district. Past checks and balances. Yeah. And that's, back to the Constitution. I mean, it's set up like that, and that's what we need to do. And this is Joshua, the one time I supported Cav Scout. All right. Awesome. I do wear the hat. You can see up here, my gold over here, here, there they are. Gold Spurs. I was a transporter my entire career. I was an 88 Mike. So, but I was assigned 2 separate occasions to cavalry units. So, there we go. But I do wear that Cav hat, but I was not a Cav Scout. So, and then DA Wheeler, fuck that Republicans can't get shit done, won't fix shit, and fuck that shit. Okay. Hey, thanks for the comment. And I can't necessarily disagree. Like we already talked about how that we're not codifying stuff for America First. So there we go. There's that one. There were some other ones. Let's see if we can run through real quick. Oh yeah. A lot more positive. I guess I do, and I appreciate those. And I was asked when I'd be in Warren County. This is another, I'm trying to get back to this one. Yeah. Off of another ad. Okay. Good deal. Folks, posting their political stuff. All right. That's awesome. But asking about when I'd be in Franklin County, and I replied to that about the candidate forum down there. Okay, and I think I might have talked to Charles down there because he said so. There are a couple other guys. He said he was leaning towards Rocky, but which is fine. Investigate your candidates and who's going to be, if you want someone that's more constitutional, then you're going to want to vote for me. And that was just replies on there. I'm actually enjoying this as I kind of scroll through. I try and go through these. I usually slice out some time to go through and actually reply to a lot of these. Okay. Chapter 13 is just your name, and it says filed June 7th, and your wife filed together in November 2014. Is that incorrect? Like I said, I myself have never filed for bankruptcy, and definitely not in June of 22. Now, if we go back to actually even November of, no, that would not have been me either. I talk about that ex-wife I have that she filed, and I would have been mentioned in that. But no, I have never filed in any chapter of bankruptcy for in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, that is absolutely incorrect. Said, and Thomas Davis is a pretty common name, not to but it's out there. So I mean, if you could, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Is that is incorrect. Yeah, and even in 2014, November of 2014, yeah, I would have. It was April of 14 is when I retired from the Army, and I would have been in, yeah, I was in the police academy at that particular time. And no, and then let's see, June of 22, yeah, we were here in Tennessee. So yeah, no, never filed. But again, I appreciate the follow up there. Don't know. So, but the answer to that question is no, never filed bankruptcy. All right. Back to, and like I said, I do appreciate all the questions. I have no problems answering these. Looks like where we at on this one? This is one so the hat I wear is a U.S. Cavalry hat, but I had David Wellington pop on here wearing a Confederate pin. Well, the Confederacy went against the Constitution, so STFU. So no, there are no. My hat is not in here, but the pin is from 361 Cav, which is a U.S. Army cavalry unit. I wear the brown hat, and I've seen this. Folks mistake this all the time because we don't. History is not a thing anymore, apparently, to understand uniforms in the military. The Army as cavalry wore brown hats in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And then, back to black. Black is more traditional, what you see, but it is super hot in the summer. And so in the Army now, you can, and go Google this stuff. You can see current units wearing the brown hat, the brown Stetson. And so that's what I chose to do. It cost me votes? I don't know. I don't think my man here was going to vote for me anyway. So that's a thing. Yeah. All right. So you can go on and read these, but a lot of these folks come on, the haters, and I do. I mean, honestly, I appreciate the comments because it helps drive the algorithms, and like I said, I'll address them. That's fine. And then like this one, are you a Trumper? If so, you don't believe in anything you just said. I am America first. But there we go. Okay. Did you live in Arizona? Yes, I did. The one in your name was filed in Arizona. Okay. Again, if you would, I mean, you can post it here. That's fine. But where the documentation comes from, but no, I have never filed for bankruptcy. I was, so that divorce was back in, I think, 08. It was finalized, and then 09 is when she filed, and I believe she filed from South Carolina is where she might have. And then, did you live in Arizona? I'll answer that question. Yes, I am from Arizona originally. I retired when I got out in 14. I went to Arizona and lived there from 14 until 17 when we moved here to Tennessee. So again, no, I said, if you want to, the answer is no. I've never filed for bankruptcy. So I don't know. There is that question. There we go. All right, we are past it. And Lizzie May, again, I appreciate you investigating and putting into it, but the answer is 100% no. I have never filed for bankruptcy at any point for any reason, any chapter, because there are different chapters of that deal, but I have never done it. So, all right, but we are past, and I think I am going to vote today. So I'm going to go take care of that mess. And next week I will be back on. And like I said, Lindsay May, if you want to follow up with a conversation on Facebook, we can do that, or the email tomdavistn4@gmail, and I'm more than happy to continue the discussion with you. But right now we are out of time. So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate all the comments from everybody. Said I'll talk to anybody about the stuff. That's how we have to get to it. I don't have all the ideas, and I have discovered and found through my life that you at least listen to everybody, and sometimes you let them try the weird stuff, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. So, I absolutely ask for that vote if you haven't gone out and voted. If you have voted and you didn't vote for me, and you think you should have now that you've found me, let your friends know. And until the next one, this will defend.